Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss Loving in Truth. This is the sonnet number 1 from the sonnet sequence Astrophel and Stella by Sir Philip Sidney. Let us have a look on the poet. Born on 30th November 1554 in Penhurst in Kent, he was the MP of Kent. He was also a soldier and a critic. Remember it. He was a soldier and a critic. His major works, Arcadia, an apology for poetry. This is critical work. Astrophel and Stella. He had a heroic death on 2nd October 1586 in the battlefield of Zutphen in Netherlands at the age of 32. So before going to the text, we have to remember some important points. Astrophel and Stella is the first English sonnet sequence published in 1591, comprises 108 sonnets and 11 songs. Actually, Anne Locke's Meditation of a Penitent Sinner was the first ever published English sonnet sequence. It was published in 1560. But in modern usage, Astrophel and Stella is the first English famous sonnet sequence. Okay, however, Astrophel means star lover, and here is the poet himself, and Stella means star, Penelope Divaroux, whom the poet loves. It is a Italian or Petrarchan sonnet divided into octave and sestet. The octave consists in the poet's frantic effort to please his lady love by writing poetry, and the sestet means the last 6 lines shows his failure and ultimate revelation, especially in the concluding couplet, means the last 2 lines of the poem. Actually, the characteristic Petrarchan sonnet has 5 rhymes: A, B, C, D, E. So here the rhyme scheme is A B A B A B A B C D C D E E. We will discuss and show this when we will be going through the text, and it is written in iambic hexameter, means 6-footed lines. Now we should move to the text. Loving in truth and fain in verse my love to show, that sea, dear sea, might take some pleasure of my fame. Pleasure might cause her read, reading might make her know, knowledge might pity win, and pity grace obtain. So this is the first 4 lines, and we will discuss also the rhyme scheme. Okay, so the first line, loving in truth, that means loving truly or sincerely. The poet wanted to assert his eagerness to love sincerely. Fain in verse my love to show, that means the poet was eager to show his love to the lady by writing verse in her praise. So the poet is saying that poet's love was true, and he was particularly very much interested to show it in his poetry written in the praise of his lady love. Next line, that sea, dear sea. So sea is repeated, that is for the sake of emphasis. That sea, dear sea, might take some pleasure of my pain. So the poet is saying that sea means Penelope find some delight, or will find some delight of my pain, means of his poetic pain. Stella might feel delighted with the poetry written by the poet with much labor, and his poetic pain was intended for her mental pleasure. So he is saying that Stella must be delighted upon seeing his labor. Next line, pleasure might cause her read. Her delight at the sight of the poet's pain or poet's poetic pain might lead Stella to read these lines. Means read the poem or poetry. Here the poet is saying that Stella might feel curious and inclined to read his poem. Reading might make her know. So the poet is saying that by reading his poem, Stella might also learn how deep the poet's love for her was. Next line, knowledge might pity win and pity grace obtain. So the poet is saying that her knowledge of love for her might take her pitiful to the poet, and pretty grace obtain means her pity might lead her to show her favor to the poet. The poet expects to win her grace by means of his poetry or verse written by him in her praise. The next line, I sought fit words to paint the blackest face of O, studying inventions fine, her wits to entertain, oft turning others' leaves, to see if then should flow some fresh and fruitful showers upon my sunburnt brain. So in these 4 lines, the poet is saying that he has already searched for appropriate words which can appropriately express the feelings of his heart. The blackest face of O means the deep sense of sorrow. So the poet is saying that he has searched for many words to describe his deep feelings of sorrow. The next line, studying inventions fine, her wits to entertain. Studying inventions fine means here the poet is saying that reading brilliant poetical works. The poet had tried reading so many brilliant poetical works. Her wits to entertain means his whole aim, and the poet's aim is to delight Stella, to entertain her intellectual appetite. Oft turning others' leaves. The poet often checked or turned the leaves of the books written by the other poets or the other authors. If thence would flow some fresh and fruitful showers to my sunburnt brain. So the poet has already searched and studied the writings of the other poets or the other authors, and if thereby would come any kind of fresh and fruitful showers, that means showers with the effects of freshening or germinating. My sunburnt brain means the poet's heat oppressed or excited brain. So some fresh and fruitful showers to my sunburnt brain, it means that the poet's heat oppressed or excited brain needs a kind of fresh and fruitful showers. So the imagery drawn here is quite clear and very good. Showers have the effect to make dry and scorched land fresh and fruitful. Similarly, the other literary masters or the works of the other literary poets or masters may freshen and make active the poet's heat oppressed brain. So here is an imagery used by the poet. So up to these 8 lines, here we see that the poet is trying to write poetry. So his efforts to write poetry to impress his lady love. Now moving to the next line. But words come halting forth, wanting invention stay. Invention nature's child, fled, stepped them, studied blows. So, as we have already seen, the poet was trying to write poetry in praise of his lady love to impress her, but the poet's words could not come out because he tries to imitate the other literary scholars or masters. That's why the poet's words could not come out spontaneously from his heart. Wanting inventions stay, that means lacking the potency of inventing creation, that means lacking the originality or spontaneity. So next line, invention nature's child, fled stepped them studies blows. So look, inventions means here poetic inventions, here the poetic impulsiveness. So invention is the child of nature. What the poet implies here is that the poetic impulse is a spontaneous urge. So invention is natural, spontaneous. Stepdom studies blues. Study is taken as the stepmother of the poetic invention. Very important, the concept of study as the stepdom of the poetic invention is quite original and appropriate. So the creative urge is spontaneous and the effect of study on it is only external. I repeat this line, invention nature's child, fled stepdom studies blows. So invention or poetic invention is the nature's child and study is his stepmother. So a very good comparison is given here, that is analogy of the child and the stepmother. Study is taken as the stepmother of the poetic invention and the latter is found to evade the authority of the former. That means invention is evading the authority of study. As a child runs away from his stepmother, here the poetic invention is also running away from his stepmother study. Next lines, and others' feet still seemed but strangers in my way, thus great with child to speak and helpless in my throes. So the poet is saying that others' feet means the writings of the other poets, that seems to be very strange. The poet could not feel quite easy with the works of the other poets for his inspiration. So he could not find any inspiration or inspiring effect from the from the works of the other great poets. So great with child to speak, that means the poet means his newly roused poetic emotion that seeks to express itself. He is saying that as a child cannot express his newly learned words or experience, here the poet is feeling a kind of problem to express all his feelings. Clear? And helpless in my throes. Helpless in my throes means the poet felt helpless and he was in pain. Throes means pain or pangs. So the poet cannot express his feelings of his poetic feelings. That's why he is helpless, like a child who learned or who learns the new words or new experiences. The next lines: biting my truant pen, beating myself for spite. Fool, said my muse to me, look in thy heart and write. So, biting, the term is here used to indicate the restlessness of the poet's mind. Truant means here unwilling. Truant pen means like a truant boy, his pen seems to run away from him. Beating myself for spite, that indicates the poet grew very angry because of his failure to produce a good poetry. Fool, actually the poet was called fool by the muse. Muse means his guiding poetic spirit. We will have a list of the 9 muses. Okay. The muse told him to look in thy heart and write. That indicates the true inspiration of poetry lies in his heart and nowhere else. The poet should seek inspiration within his heart for his poetic creation. So this is the text. A quick look on the muses. The muses, according to the Greek mythology, are the 9 goddesses, inspirers of poetry, music, arts, etc. You just look at the list of the 9 muses if you want an advanced study. Look at this carefully. You can take down